Hello learners, welcome to the session on Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health. We are on the course Environmental Impact Assessment for Environmental Health, and the topic of today is baseline information of socio-economic environment. Students, you must be aware of the term environmental impact assessment, and today we will be discussing about that what all does it comprise of socio-economic environment and why and what variables are required if we want to go for the analysis or we want to collect the baseline information regarding socio-economic environmental analysis. So, let us understand first of all what do we mean by environmental impact assessment or EIA. You know, this is the process of evaluating a kind of the likely environmental impacts of any proposed development activity, and it does take into account several features. For example, there are socio-economic factors involved, there are biophysical factors involved, there are cultural elements, there are physical elements, there are related to human health. So, we can say that environmental impact assessment activity is actually done before the beginning of any project. We call it as the developmental activity, and before the beginning of any developmental activity, say for example, we are building roads, we are constructing dams, we are putting up some industrial parks, we are setting up some industry, whatever we are proposing, whatever the developmental projects we are proposing, it is very unlikely that they do not come up with any outcomes. We can say particularly in that sense that there are some impacts and some consequences which are unintended. So, it is very imperative to analyze the socio-economic parameters. So, what are these parameters in order to address the inequality issues which are mostly seen during the initial phases of these development projects. For example, whenever any industry is laid down, we very well know that there are lot of exercises being done to calculate the capital and the other things, but most of the times it has been seen that all the sections of the society are not equally benefited. In spite of the fact that these development projects bring with them lot of opportunities in terms of job creation, opportunities in terms of lot of people coming in, lot of enterprises coming in, lot of prosperity coming in that region. This is very much true, but along with it there are several consequences. There are several consequences on the environment and the social setup of that region. So, this is very essential because environmental impact assessment activity is therefore a kind of an activity which foresees that what will happen to that land, to that region, to that place if the proposed activity goes on. So, what will be the outcome? So, EIA was first introduced in 1970 by US, and it is a very good step because it foresees the kind of the impacts which may occur at that region and which can be prevented by taking all these you can say surveys and collecting all the baseline information. Through these we can at least minimize the impact whichever are occurring because of these developmental activities. So, what are the impacts of the development? Particularly, it has been seen that the development interventions may take different forms. The different forms of particularly number one is critical depletion of natural resources, be it the exploitation of the land resources, the land degradation, the exploitation of the water resources, that may be over extracting of the groundwater or in the form of water pollution. So, these are the vital resources which are there on the earth, and when you put up any kind of a development activity at any place, it is very unlikely that these natural elements and these natural assets will not be disturbed. So, whenever the deforestation takes place, there is a huge land, a huge soil which gets displaced, soil erosion takes place, water bodies are getting polluted. So, this is very common that depletion of natural resources occurs at the time of these development interventions. Then there is very common to see environmental pollution occurring because of these activities. The emissions by if the industry is laid down at the time of the construction also, when the industry is in operational phase also, the lot of emissions are being emitted into the atmosphere, lot of harmful gases are being emitted into the atmosphere. So environmental pollution of all sorts, it is very common to see that noise pollution occurs, and it is very difficult for the people who live in the nearby areas to cope up with these environmental pollutants, because these pollutants are very dangerous and people have been living at this place for long, but now they feel that this type of activity will bring opportunities for them, it will be job creation for them. So we can say that this, in spite of knowing that this type of environmental pollution is occurring, then also adequate steps are not taken. And we have seen that how, if environmental impact assessment doesn't take place properly, there are a lot of problems which occur after the project is completed. Then there is a deterioration of global health, the health of the people in the long run, if all these factors are going on, or if there is environmental pollution, there is a lack of adequate water, sanitation, it may lead to several type of diseases in the people. There is a global climate change occurring because of these factors, economic recession. So these are some of the common impacts which have been seen because of these development activities. Worldwide, it has been noticed that when any new project, any program, any policy, any plan, whenever such type of things are being done, it has been seen that on a small scale in the beginning there is lot of resistance from the people, and if the exercise is not carried out in a proper and the planned manner, it results in more harm than advantages. So we come to social impact assessment, because environmental impact assessment looks at the environmental aspect of any particular project. But when we talk about social impact assessment, it means that it is the process of identifying and managing the social issues of the project report. So what are the social issues? That is also something which is very important that we must know and understand. What are the social issues which may affect when the project is planned or when it is operated? So it is the process of analyzing, monitoring and managing the intended and unintended social consequences. So what are social consequences? Learners, you must understand, by social consequences we mean that, is the project, whatever we are planning, going to change the social harmony of the region? Will there be pollution? Keep it aside, but will it not be, if it leads to job creation in an you can say ununiform manner, then it will lead to inequalities in the society. There may be cases of increasing crime in the society. Women may face adverse consequences because of these projects. So these are some of the socially relevant phenomena and socially relevant checklists which we must see when we are going to analyze the project from the social perspective. We have to see that how the people in this region are living at present, and when this project comes up, when any industry, dam, bridge, construction is taking place, how will the life of these people change? Will they be getting the same kind of the environment where they are living? Will there be a change in their culture? Will they have to rehabilitate it? These are some of the common problems which we have seen in the past. We have seen that how improperly conducted social impact assessment in the case of Sardar Sarovar Dam, where large millions of the people were forced to be displaced from the place where they have been originally living. And when we have to resettle them at different parts of the country, it is not an easy exercise. Resettlement also brings with it lot of social, cultural problems with the people. So we have to see that how we are able to manage the social consequences. They may be intended and they may be unintended social consequences. So social impact assessment is an exercise which beautifully does this job of seeing on mitigating the social impacts of any development project or any activity. So we were talking just now about what are social impacts. Let us see people's way of life, how people in that region live, what work do they do, how do they spend their time, so how they are living, how they are working. Then there is a culture, what is their shared beliefs, perceptions, culture, language, What is their culture at present? Will this development activity bring a change in their culture? Will the cultural traits change? Will it be a favorable situation? That needs to be checked. What are the political systems? What role do they have in the decision making? Do they have access to resources? These are some of the questions which needs to be answered, and these impacts need to be studied in detail before beginning of any activity. What is the state of the environment? What will happen after the project is done, pre and post? That exercise needs to be conducted, that needs to be done very well. Health and well-being of the people, nutrition, food, water, sanitation, these are some of the important things we have to check. Personal and property rights, what is the kind of the governance there? Do they have the role in the decision making? Do they have access to property? All these things, fears and aspirations. Are the people in the region afraid of their development activity? Do they have any apprehensions in their mind? So if these are the social things which we have to see, which we have to check, so that a kind of a meaningful exercise is being done, and that meaningful exercise results in a better project operation, because unless and until it is done in a systematic manner, it will create problems in the long run of the project. So what is the purpose of social impact assessment? We have seen, we have quoted large number of examples to understand social impact assessment. So the purpose of social impact assessment is to bring about a more sustainable and equitable biophysical and human environment. The relationship between environment and humans need to be established well. We cannot live in harmony if the environment is disturbed. It is a kind of a bringing on win-win situation for environment and the social system existing at any region. To identify and evaluate the associated negative externalities. What are negative externalities? In terms of environment, pollution is a negative externality. Degradation, that is something which we do not desire. But in terms of social aspect, we can say the negative externality may be increase in crime, increase in violence against women, traffic congestion, poor health of the people. So these are some of the issues which come under the category of negative externalities, and when you do social impact assessment, one of the important purpose of this exercise is to identify, to know what could be the negative consequences of this project and how to evaluate them, and lastly to formulate policies for future development planning. So once you jot down what could be the social impacts, and for this we need to also have a data regarding the history of that place. So when you have all these information, we are able to see what are the negative consequences on the social setup of this region, and then we can further plan the future development policies and bring about similar kind of projects if it is a viable solution in that region. If it is not, we may have to seek some other development plan, we may have to look for some alternatives for this particular region. So what is baseline information? We have talked enough about social impact assessment and the importance of social impact assessment, but what information exactly do we need and how to get that information in order to effectively carry out social impact assessment? So that is the baseline information which refers to the existing conditions and the past trends associated with the human environment where the proposed activity is likely to take place. So you also have to look at the present scenarios, the way of living of the people, and what have been the past trends. From where have these particular community people have come? What has been the history of that place? So that all together this will comprise of the baseline information. It is necessary to collect baseline information to provide a description of status and trends of environmental factors against which predicted changes can be compared and evaluated. So you have, first of all, in this, the information or the data which we are using is used for predicting the changes which are likely to happen here, and then a kind of the description of the status that it helps to create this information and to provide a means of detecting actual change. So, when the project is laid down, we come to know about the actual change which has occurred there by monitoring once the project has been initiated. So, when the project is initiated, we can know that we can monitor actually that what was the predicted and what is the actual scenario of the project in that particular area. So, how far social changes have been brought about and how they have been minimized, that can be done when the baseline information is collected properly. There are certain variables of this baseline information, and some of them are relationship with biophysical environment. We have a intricate relationship with the environment, with the physical factors of the environment. So, that also needs to be carefully studied. It must be known that what is the origin, what kind of a topography, what kind of the climatic zone that region falls with it. So, how we are related, does our livelihood depends on that biophysical environment, our living, our culture, how does it relate to this biophysical environment? What is the historical background of this region? Just now we were talking about the history of that place and the historical background of the communities who have been living at that place. So, what is the history? What is the community life of the people? From where they have originated? What is their culture? What practices do they follow? These are some of the vital information which is required. Then political and social resources. What kind of mutually cooperation is there or not? Do they have access to resources, decision making, power over the resources? What kind of the governance is there in that region? So, this comes under the political and the social resources. Then culture, attitude and social psychological conditions. What are the beliefs of the people, attitude of the people, what kind of culture they have been brought into it. Are they forward looking, or are they you can say they have this entrepreneur ability in them. So, these are some of the important things and which are known by knowing about their social values, their cultural values, the psychological conditions and the population characteristics. What is the population of that area? What is the literacy level of that area? How many people are employed? What do they perform? What kind of jobs do they have? What kind of activity do they indulge in? So, this is the population characteristics which is also very important to ascertain. For example, demographic variables. This is the size of the population, the distribution of the population, the composition of the population, the sex ratio in that region. So, that gives us an idea, so that you can plan that after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, if the current population trends are like this in this region, in the future it will be like this. So, we can ascertain what infrastructure development needs to be done. So, whether the proposed activity which is being done over here will be viable in future, is it required for future. So, that kind of demographic variables are very important to know, and to therefore before beginning of such type of activity, these are some of the important considerations which should be kept in mind. And these variables also determine the household income, literacy level of the people, future infrastructure, what would be the requirement. There have been lot many studies. We always come across such type of studies which predict that by 2030, by 2050, this much of water will be required, this much will be the energy requirement. So, all these you can say all these facts and figures are coming by studying the population characteristics and demography of that region, which is very essential. And future needs, if we want to ascertain, that also can be explored by knowing these demographic variables. Then economic variables are also very important, because economic attribute determine the level of the income of the people, the standard of living of the people, the quality of life of the people. So, this is also something which is very important. That income actually helps in making choices and living conditions, and it gives also access to better civic services that we have seen. A region which has a population of prosperous people, they have a different level of the civic amenities in their area as compared to the region where most of the people are below poverty line. So, these economic variables are very important to ascertain the type of the living of that people in that region. So, if we are able